Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Either you give us grandchildren or we're taking you off our will. After that, am I the jerk for climbing in the window of my dad's house? And after that, entitled mom calls the police over my clothesline. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen goes to jail. Just leave me alone. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Either you give us grandchildren or we're taking you off our will. This title sounds bad. The story is even worse. I never thought I would be writing a post about my own parents here, but here we are, right? For context, my fiance and I have been in a relationship for the past 10 years and just recently got engaged. While it's understandable that 10 years might sound a bit too much, we started dating really early, and getting married was not a priority for either of us. We actually preferred to focus on our studies and career for a while. She's a civil engineer, and I'm a medical student after getting a bachelor's and a master's. I do freelancing as a developer to pay for my living expenses. As we have been a couple for a long time, it's quite common for people to ask us when we're getting married and when we're having kids. While we're getting married, as soon as I finished med school, we decided not to have children a long time ago, and we're still very certain of that decision, as both of us are more career than family-oriented. However, since the engagement, our families have started to put more pressure on us to get married soon and have kids, even though we told them plenty of times that's not gonna happen. My fiance and I live together, and we're completely independent from our families financially. Some time ago, during a video chat, we ended up getting into a heated argument with our families for finally snapping at their ceaseless nagging for grandchildren, and we have been strained ever since. Now, our families asked us to meet them for a lunch, in family, at my parents' house. We don't live in the same city, but it's close enough that we can go there for something like this, and that's when the following situation transpired. We arrived early enough to help out in preparing everything for lunch, and for the next hour or so, things were pretty alright. But after we had had lunch and we sat at the coffee table to chat, it's customary here, the room got visibly tense. Our parents, both hers and mine, started a speech about how much they put into us, how much they worked for us, and how much family means to them. I was already sensing some crappy thing coming, but I kept listening. Suddenly, they said that during one of their talks, they came to a decision that if my fiance and I didn't give them grandchildren, after all they had done for us, we would be cut off of their wills. The reasoning was this. 1. My brother is a gay man, and as of now has no intention of adopting or any alternative to have kids, and I was the only option on continuing the family. He was not there and is as mortified as I am. 2. She is the oldest sister. Her younger sister is still in high school, and thus must set an example by having a family and continuing the family. Now, if that's not psychotic, I have no clue what is. We quickly looked between ourselves and immediately left the house. Haven't spoken to them since, but as far as we're aware, we're disowned by now. I never thought I would have to go through that just because I don't want to have kids, but it just shows how much entitlement they think they have. Edit. I did not expect this to grow so much in just a few hours. Thank you everyone for the replies. Sadly, I don't think I'll be able to respond to everyone, so I'll just clear a few things here. My fiance and I have absolutely no interest in their inheritance. We've been fine on our own for a long time, and we can take care of ourselves. Thus, we have absolutely no intention of contesting their will. We don't need that money, and we don't want it. I only posted this here due to the absurdity of their actions. We have decided to cut contact with them and uninvited them from our wedding. My brother is giving us full support on this, and as he is my best man, this already means the world to me. It's regrettable that it came to this outcome, but we are not going to let them run our lives. Some people asked us why we don't want to have kids. There's a few reasons for that, especially the fact that we both are extremely focused on our careers. Having a kid is a responsibility to raise someone and give them the affection, lessons, and times needed. Neither of us want to go through that just to birth someone. Also, we have firm beliefs that the world already has people enough without us putting someone else on it. Lastly, neither of us really likes kids. As bad as that might sound, we have no intention of ever giving birth to one. What would you do if you were in this situation? Would you have kids just to make your parents happy? Please let us know. After all we've done for our kids, the least they can do is give us grandbabies. Am I the jerk for climbing in the window of my dad's house? My parents are divorced, and because of the custody agreement, I am supposed to be at my dad's for every other week. My mom dropped me off outside his house, and I went to the door and the key didn't work. I banged on the door and rang the doorbell, and nobody came to the door. The house seemed empty. My phone had died, and my mom had left because she was dropping me off on her rush to work. The locks on the doors were new, but it was hot as heck out, and my dad was supposed to have custody, so I thought it would be fine to come in the window, like I was supposed to be there. I climbed in the bathroom window that he always leaves open. I slid the screen up carefully and came in without breaking anything. This is my childhood home. I've climbed in that window plenty of times. Heck, when I was little and playing outside, I'd come through the window as a fun shortcut to use the bathroom. I went towards my bedroom, and there was some random lady in the hallway who was freaked out. She was scared by me being there, and I was like, "I live here. I'm Mitch's daughter. Who the heck are you?" And she left the house without saying anything. I went around the house, and my dad was not there. Edit. A few people asked why I was so rude to say, "Who the heck are you?" It's because my dad has remarried. He has a wife who is away this month caring for her elderly parents. And I came home to see a random lady looking like she had slept over at the house, coming out of my dad's room, wearing my dad's pajamas. It didn't look good, and that's why I was so angrily asking questions. So he got home, and he was mad as heck at me for breaking in and scaring a lady he was friends with. Apparently, my mom and him had miscommunicated about drop-off time, and he was supposed to meet us in the afternoon and give me a copy of the new keys. It was supposed to be after his lady friend had left, and I was like, "Okay, so it was your mistake and my mom's mistake. Why are you mad at me for coming in rather than sitting out in 95-degree heat for who knows how long?" And he was just so mad that I acted threatening to his friend that she was scared by me banging on the door and screaming, then suddenly showing up inside the house when she had no idea who I was. I said that if he's having ladies over and they're over at a father's house, they better darn well expect a kid around it. They're pretty dumb. Am I the jerk for climbing in the window of my dad's house? What would you have done? Would you have sat outside or climbed through the window? Please let us know. That dad sounds interesting. I'd love to meet him. Entitled Mom calls the police over my clothesline. This takes place in my hometown. A house had been built right next to ours over the course of the past year and a half, and a small family moved into it. We never met the family, as we are usually not ones to go out of our way to meet people, so it came as a huge surprise when this happened. We have a backyard, which is private. It's surrounded by a fence with a locking gate. Entitled Mom's house had a deck that overlooked our backyard. Midwinter, our dryer decided to die, and we had to take all our clothes to the closest laundromat to dry at least once a week. Once spring rolled around, I decided to put a clothesline in our backyard to help save money. A few weeks went by, and at least once a week, I would be out there hanging loads of laundry to dry. On one such occasion, our neighbor, Entitled Mom, was out on her deck talking on her phone. I paid her no mind and just hung my clothes to dry. As I was heading back inside, I heard the dreaded banshee screech that was Entitled Mom. Entitled Mom. "Hey, boy!" I'm a woman, but I have my hair cut short with most of it buzzed, so I can see why she assumed I was a boy. I looked over, mostly because of the noise she made, not because I thought she was talking to me, but unfortunately she was. "You can't hang those out here." Me. "What? My clothes?" "Yeah. You can't hang your filthy underwear out here, where I have to look at them. What if my kids see?" Me. "Lady, it's my backyard. If I want to hang my laundry to dry in my backyard, I can." And with that, I flipped her the universal sign to go forget yourself and went inside. About a half hour later, I hear a knock on my door. When I answer it, there is a police officer standing at my door. Officer. "Good afternoon, ma'am." He knew I was a woman, and yet somehow Entitled Mom didn't. "We received a call about a creep in this residence trying to flash people. Would you happen to know anything about this?" Me. "Seriously? Entitled Mom was just screaming about me hanging my underwear on my clothesline out back. I assure you, nothing else is happening." Officer. "Do you mind if I take a look?" Me, with nothing to hide. "Of course." I showed the officer my clothesline, and we could clearly see Entitled Mom glaring at us with a smug look on her face from her deck. The officer thanked me, went to speak with Entitled Mom, and that was that. I sued my boss because he fired me for wanting to attend a concert. During my gap year between studies, I decided to work for Company Inn. Company Inn was run by a husband, Dave, and wife, Karen, with their son, and basically treated their staff like a small family. All was well for about 2 months, until I realized I had to ask for a day off since I wanted to attend the last Slayer concert the band would give in my country. There was about a month to go, so I sent an email asking for the day off and explaining why. This is where everything started to go downhill. I got a reply from the Karen, and her reply was, "Weird." She stated that's not how asking for a day off works. I was confused to say the least. Not sure what to do, I thought she wanted a more formal way of asking, so I wrote a more formal email asking for the day off. She shot an email back. I really had to think it through what I was doing, which made even less sense to me. But I was hopeful since I never got a specific no. The next workday rolls around. I arrived, locked up my bike, and headed inside ready for work. I immediately started looking for Dave to ask for answers. Before I could even open my mouth, he asked me, "Do you still want to go to that concert?" I didn't expect him to ask this so quickly. I answered, yes. The only thing he said back was, "Okay, take off your vest and you can go home." I was stunned, and while the words started to sink in, I looked at my colleagues, which were just preparing for the opening. When it finally sank in, anger flowed in. I am not a confrontational person, so I simply took off my vest and gave it to Dave. Without a word, I left and started biking home. When I got home, I told my mother what had happened. We started sending emails for extra information and got very Karen-like emails back. After a couple emails, which went basically nowhere, I looked up the laws for immediate dismissal. After reading up about it, I learned that in my country, someone can only be immediately fired when caught stealing, frauding, the person isn't able to do the work, or refusal to do the work. I did neither of these. A day or two later, I met with my attorney and began the steps to sue Company Inn. I told my lawyer what happened in detail, and he was very confident I was in my right and she was not. So after trading even more emails between the three of us, we went to small claims. I came prepared in a suit with my attorney in tow, and Karen showed up alone. I guess she assumed she won because she thought she was in her right. The trial began, and I was as professional and objective as I could be. Karen did the same. Well, for about half of the trial. When she realized evidence was piling up against her, she resorted to calling me a spoiled brat, among other things I don't know the English translations for. I'm safe to say that was the point the judge ruled in my favor. As per usual, I had to wait a month before I got the verdict, black on white in the mail, but I won. It may have taken about 6 months from the moment I was told to go home to the point those 6 months of pay were transferred to my bank account, but it was 100% worth it. In the end, I went to the concert. It was the most awesome and most profitable concert I have ever been to in my life. Speaking of Slayer, what's your favorite band? Please let us know. My favorite bands are the ones that go... Am I the jerk for logging into my sister-in-law's accounts and taking a post about me and my daughter down? I am a mother to a 7-year-old. For various reasons, there are several people who I do not want having any form of access to her, and that includes photos and social media. I don't post about having a daughter, keep my profiles professional, and don't post photos with her in them. I'm not an idiot. I know once my daughter is old enough for social media, she will put pictures of herself online, and by then we will have had a serious talk about internet safety, the kind of talk I can't have with a 7-year-old. I've been with my fiance for 3 years now, and a few weeks ago he proposed. We told his sister yesterday over a video call. My daughter was with us on the call. My sister-in-law has known my daughter since she was 4. She's really good with her, and she knows the rules about social media. I've had to remind her of these rules more than once because sister-in-law runs a mummy blog, and her daughter is only a couple of months older than mine, and the two are good friends. So if she takes photos of her kid and mine is in the photos, I ask her to crop my kid out. She has thousands of followers on her blog and social media and is popular enough to have been sponsored a few times, but she's not anywhere near living off of it and has a 9-to-5 job. A few hours after the video chat was over, I got a notification for sister-in-law's blog. Sister-in-law has posted about our engagement, and alongside it, she's put a screenshot of us mid-call with my daughter showing off the ring and cross-posted it to all her social media, where she's tagged us in it, and the post is a long piece that makes clear that my daughter isn't my fiance's child. This is the exact thing I don't want on the internet. Proof that I have a daughter alongside my name and picture, posted by someone in my fiance's family with a massive following on 5 different websites. I untagged myself from what I could, but my full name, first, middle, and last name was on the post and still searchable. We called sister-in-law and asked her nicely to take the post down. She refused. My fiance then asked her not so nicely, but she refused again and hung up on us. I had a minor freakout, and my fiance said his sister had the same password for everything when they were kids, so if I wanted, he could try and get in and take the post down himself. I said yes. The password was the same, so he logged in and took it all down, then texted sister-in-law saying what we had done and that he had hoped it wouldn't come to this. She's furious with us and made a whole new post about how we hacked her account and since then, it's been non-stop messages from her as well as my fiance's immediate family saying we overreacted, invaded her privacy, and that we should have just asked her again to take it down before going nuclear. Are we the jerks? Update. Spoke to a lawyer who has a cease and desist ready to go when/if we need it, and said that if sister-in-law did pursue legal action, she'd come off way worse than us, and we'd get off close to scot-free by comparison. What would you do if you were in this situation? Would you log in and delete it, or keep trying to convince sister-in-law to do it herself? Please let us know. I dare you to log into my blog. I don't work here, lady. Why do you think you were able to find me so easily? Used to do construction and remodeling, which meant going to big box hardware stores. If I were working outside or with an annoying client, I would wear a blaze orange shirt. So one of many days, I found myself at Home Depot looking for a MacGuffin, or what's it, to finish a job I was on. This particular day, I ran into a buddy and was talking a bit. We wandered a bit, looking for our required Wikidackers, and found his first. Told him it was good catching up, and turned to walk away. Chaz. Yo, employee. I didn't work there, so not talking to me, so I kept walking. Chaz. Hey, stupid, guy in the orange shirt, yo. So I turned to see who he's going to yell at, and here he is, getting up in my personal space. Me. Hi? Chaz. When I talk, you listen, jerk. Me. Okay. Chaz. Where do I find faucets? Me. In plumbing, I would assume. I think it's 2 or 3 aisles that way. Well, show me then. You guys are so useless, I don't know why I bother shopping here. Me. Huh? Chaz. You brought that other guy over. You're gonna take me. I look over his shoulder, and there's Johnny laughing at me. Me. Hey, Johnny, how do you quote for something like this? Like 2-hour minimum, plus transit and supplies? Cause I could really go for some beers. Chaz. What? It's your job. Me. I mean, $70 an hour, 2-hour minimum, 4 miles to the liquor store, $18 for a rack of Coors. Shall I call my bookkeeper and set up an appointment? Chaz, spitting mad now. I need it now. Me. Oh, a rush job. Well, that's gonna be a premium. Let me call the office. I think it's $150 per day ahead of when we can schedule it. Chaz. You wait until I find your boss. You're done for. You'll never work here again. Me. You're talking to the boss right now. Would you like a card? We mostly specialize in basement finishing and remodeling, but I got a guy with experience in picking stuff up from the store for me. Chaz. But you're wearing orange. You helped that guy. Me. Yeah, you're at a Home Depot, and you found me talking to a friend. Obviously, I don't work here if you were able to find me. Chaz made some comments at me about being full of crap and told me I was done for when my manager heard about this. On the way out, I saw Chaz yelling at the store manager and pointing an angry finger towards me. Manager shrugged, and I could see him shaking his head and probably explaining reality to him. I had to buy my own beer that day. Am I the jerk for giving up on having a relationship with my sister? My sister, 25, and I, female, 23, were best friends our whole lives and did everything together. A year after she started dating her now husband, who's 33, she moved out to be closer to him. Her husband is one of those guys who debates everyone about everything. The way it comes off to me is that he's never looking for a common ground or solution to an idea or a problem. He just wants to make you feel stupid. We very rarely had conversations where I walked away seeing him in a positive light. While they were dating, she would consistently come to me crying because he spoke rudely to her, offended her, spoke down to her. After every fight, she seemed resolved to break up, but they never did. Despite having only dated for one semi-tumultuous year, they decided to get married. My mother objected to this decision and asked if they would at least wait a year because we needed more time to get to know him and hopefully like him. Very little effort was made to get us all together and bond. Also, my mom preferred that my sister graduated college first before tying the knot. They refused to wait, and my mother was uninvited to the wedding. It's been a year since they've been married, and my sister has tried to reach out and reconnect. We all spent 3 days trying to talk it out and heal things. Every time we speak to her, things go well. After we hang up with her, she calls back saying her husband doesn't like what happened, he's furious, and we need to talk again. So we go over everything again, and it's like he refuses to let us back into her life. They subscribe to a form of Christianity that we weren't raised with. They believe that the husband gets to decide everything in their lives, including whether or not she's allowed to come visit us. After I patched things up with her again, he called me back and said I was no longer allowed to call her phone. If I wanted to speak to her, I had to call his phone and asked for her. I ask him what he wants, and he says things like, I want you to respect our union. I don't know what that means. Then he said, You can't have a good relationship with her unless you have a good relationship with me. We are one. So I'm supposed to pretend to like him, I guess? It's like a hostage situation. I can tell my dad wants me to open myself up to all this drama again just because she's my sister, but I feel like it doesn't matter what I do. Her husband will always say I can't have a relationship with her, and honestly, I like her less because she's allowed this to happen and won't stand up for us. Am I the jerk? Edit. I forgot to clarify that in our last 2 conversations, I told her that I care about her and that she can contact me whenever she needs to get away from him. The manager thinks she can control my breaks. So this happened like the other day. I had a large shipment and it was taking me several hours to get everything out. I had been at the store since 7:30 a.m. and it was now 11:30. I was down to 3 boxes when I decided that I just really needed a break. My company's policy is that if you are going to take a break for more than 10 minutes, you have to clock out. Since it was near lunchtime, I figured I would take an early lunch. Also, the rule of thumb with my company is that lunch breaks should not be longer than 1 hour. I take my card into the stockroom, tell the receiving clerk, who we shall call Sarah, an older woman who can be a jerk sometimes, but not as much as the manager, Karen. I tell Sarah that I'm going to eat some lunch and that I should be back in about 30 minutes. There's a nice restaurant that you order takeout from. Sarah then tells me this. Sarah. Oh, Karen said that you can only take breaks when she says to. Me. Excuse me? Sarah. This is just what she told me. You have to finish up your shipment before you leave. I'm just the messenger. Just a little side note. At this store, they hate it when vendors leave boxes overnight. I don't normally leave the store until all of my boxes are gone, but if I'm super tired, I will leave the store and go home. But normally I'll just go take a break. Sarah. Karen said you cannot take breaks on your own time. Me. What? I'm not going to listen to her. I'll take my breaks whenever the heck I want. Sarah. You'll have to speak to Karen about this. Like I said, I'm just the manager. Me. I know, Sarah, but Karen doesn't give me my paycheck. Sarah. Well, if you need to talk to Karen about this new policy, take it up with her. She says it applies to all employees. Me. But I don't work for her. She knows that I work for Greeting Card Company. Does this apply to other vendors? Sarah nods, and I am livid. I tell her that I will be speaking to my boss about this, and hopefully it will not cause drama, because I am so done. We don't discriminate here, ma'am. First post here, but I never thought I'd have to since Karens are uncommon in our poor country. This was just a few hours ago, and it didn't happen to me, but I was there when it did. There's this small supermarket I pass by on my daily commute. It's a small 2-cashier lane, higher price store that's located right beside a rich gated community. Anyways, I frequent this store just to get their imported sodas that aren't commonly found elsewhere. It was a slow day, and there were 2 people in front of me in the payout while the other lane was closed. Understandable, as there were only 3 paying customers. Here enters the cast. We've got me. We've got poor guy. We've got Karen. We've got the store clerk. Here I was, just waiting for my turn and looking out the window, and when I look back, a Karen had somehow teleported beside me as if to take my spot. I look at her directly and step back in line as the guy before me moves. I was now second in line, with only 2 bottles to buy, but I hear an irritated huffing noise. Poor guy walks by, wearing an electrician's overalls colored orange and gray. All the store employees wore black pants, a white shirt, and a black apron. The Karen grabs his arm and complains. Why are you people not opening the other cashier? It's a big lane, and you're making us wait. She spoke English, but we're in Asia. Everybody here speaks English fine, but it's kind of snobbish in a casual setting. Poor guy says in our language, sorry ma'am, but I'm also just a customer. Karen. Oh, sorry. She sounded sincere. Poor guy bows his head twice and walks away to get stuff. Meanwhile, she looks back, irritated, and finds store clerk to question. Hey, why is there only 1 lane open? We're waiting here. And besides, points with her lips to poor guy. Why do you let people like that in here? I turn back as I hear this. The store clerk, with dead eyes as if having to put up with this regularly, speaks in a solid and clear monotone. Store clerk in our language. Ma'am, we don't discriminate against selling to less fortunate people here. Everybody stops for a bit, and I stifle a laugh. I turn around to see the second lane open up. I start paying for my 2 bottles, but I hear the Karen place her things sheepishly behind me. I turn around and give her a deadpan look. I take my stuff with a chuckle and walk out. Kudos to you, store clerk. Entitled teacher takes my laptop and accuses me of cheating. So it's exam season, and I'm in the extra care group. This group requires a bit of a boosty during an exam, and for me, I require a laptop and alone space. I have a few psychological issues, and my hands are incredibly shaky constantly, so I use a laptop for all of my exams rather than handwriting it. I have been since year 9, and I'm currently year 13. One major issue with me is I can't think straight unless I talk out loud. I can do this in a hushed whisper, but it's why I have to be alone. I'm seated at the back of a large hall with my computer far away from everyone else so I can freely explain my thoughts to myself while tapping away. Before I get on with this story, I should explain Mr. M. Mr. M is a high-end teacher with 2 students in this school. Neither are important for this story. Mr. M prioritizes those students heavily and puts them in the best classes whenever he could, the classes I was in. They always got the top marks and were always winners in some sort of contest. I, being the quiet-minded kid who focused much more on daydreaming about Hulk fantasies, didn't care too much about these brats. I just kept on keeping on. Well, until today. I was in my history exam quietly tapping away. I was also whispering to myself as I did it, telling myself what to write as I typed. But I felt something. A very sharp tap. I looked up to see Mr. M glaring at me sharply. I didn't understand what I did wrong, so went back to silently tapping, struggling much more as I'm still very anxious about my thinking issue. Another hard tap. I turn back to him and he hisses some sort of nonsense about me cheating. I remain silent. I would never cheat in an exam. Even if I was struggling so bad, why would he accuse me of it now? The silence persisted until he muttered something about having special treatment and his son requiring the laptop, and before I could respond, he had picked it up and began walking away. Now all of this was done in a very quick and quiet movement. I couldn't react. I just sat in stunned silence. My work was gone. I had been working on this exam for an hour. I wanted to break down and cry. This was all too much for me. I was lucky Mrs. D, the one who was in charge of the exams, quickly noticed my lack of a computer. Mrs. D was the one who gave me the computer in the first place, so she knew something was up. She told me to go with her as she took me outside, where I explained everything. The lack of computer, Mr. M accusing me of cheating, being kicked out of the exam hall, everything. She listened contently, then told me to stay there and went off somewhere. From what I was told from a teacher who heard the commotion, Mrs. D had tore him a new one. She berated him for ruining my exam and stealing my property without any knowledge of my conditions. She eventually returned to me with the laptop and my memory drive. Luckily, he hadn't removed it, and gave me an extra time slip for 15 minutes. Luckily, I was able to get the exam completed, even though it left me a bit shaken up. I haven't seen Mr. M for the rest of the day, and I noticed his class was taken by a sub for this lesson. Maybe some action was taken against him. Update. I got information. Oh boy, have I got a story for you. Turns out he's been confiscating work off others and giving it to his kids to hand in. Mr. M has been removed from the college and is not allowed to teach anywhere in my country's region or the regions nearby. His kids have also been expelled due to constant cheating. He's been replaced on the exam board by a very sweet lady who I had watch over me in my media exam. I need an invigilator near me while working due to some of my issues. I'm very happy I have friends in high places, so I know about all of this and can tell you all. And hopefully, I'll not see him ever again. Other coffee shops work like this, so yours should too. I worked at a gourmet coffee shop a few years ago. If you wanted a coffee, you would order, pay, then I would hand you a cup, and you would pour the coffee and add the cream/sugar yourself. Other than having to do the odd sandwich/espresso, it was a pretty easy job. A group of 4 people came in, they're dressed in suits, and just give off that aura of, I'm better than you. 3 of them sit at a table, and the 4th comes up to the register. Me. Hi, can I help you? Him. Hi, I would like 4 coffees, please. Me. Sure, what size? Grande. We're not Starbucks. Oh, do you mean large? Sure, whatever. The first will be decaf, 3 cream. The second, me. Actually, the coffee and cream is on the table right behind you. I put the cups on the counter. Me. You just pour it yourself. Him. You don't pour it for us? Nope, but this way you can make it just the way you like it. Not the first time I've said this. And you can even get a free refill. Him. Can you just do it for us, please? Sorry, that's not how we work here, unfortunately. He huffs. Ugh, well, I guess we'll just have to do it ourselves then. He grabs the cups and starts to walk back to his table. Nee. Hey, sorry, that's actually going to be $6. Oh, we'll just pay you afterwards. We actually ask for it up front, if you don't mind. Him. We go to that other place up the street all the time. They don't charge us until afterwards. Nee. Unfortunately, we're not them. If we get busy, you could easily just walk out without paying. Ugh, fine. He slams down exactly $6. There, are you happy now? Yep, thank you very much. But we are probably never coming back here again. He heads to his table, and I can hear them loudly talking. We have to pour it ourselves? Are they going to pay us to do it? Let's go to the other place next time. As they filled up their coffees, one of them quirked. I guess I'm going to be the employee of the month here now. They stayed for about half an hour and made sure they all refilled their coffees before they left. I quit shortly after that, not because of them, so not sure if they ever came back or not. If you enjoyed this video, we've got another one you're going to love. It just popped up on the screen, so come watch it and we'll see you when you get there. And join as a channel member today and we'll give you a special shout out in our next video. And if you'd like us to make a special video for you or a loved one, come visit us on Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.